Oh, we got
There
somebody
we go.
in.
Oh, happened last time too. Last minute.
Good evening, Sabrina, if you can hear me. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm recording. So we're going to be reviewing chapter 5, 6, and 7. Are you able to see the questions on the side panel there where I have it up for chat? If you click the chat at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't. I
Flip
just
it
have our
for you.
names.
Click chat,
I
not
click chat and
participants,
I just have the
chat.
names of the
That must be, yeah, that's participants. Make sure you click chat. It's like the little talk window.
oh the chat. Yeah, I'm on participants. There we go. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. All right. So what was your favorite part of the chapters that we read?
Okay. For me, favorite part. That was tough. I mean, I like chapter 7. I know it
Yeah.
was lengthy, but I
Mm-hmm.
really liked there's so much information that I got out of chapter 7, and I can't pinpoint exactly one thing that I like, but I learned a lot.
Okay. All right. Sabrina, good evening. Did you get a chance
Good
to
evening,
read
ladies. Good
chapters?
evening, everyone. Yes, I
Hello.
can attest to what she said for chapter 7 because I saw you type it will be lengthy and that made
Mm-hmm.
me go to it even more.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed chapter 7 as well. All right. Did you guys have any least favorite parts that you came across reading the chapters?
Not really. I got a little, I think, confused at one part, but I'll go into that later. But I don't think there was anything that I didn't dislike
Okay.
or that
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I learned more than I disliked anything.
Okay. I was trying to look and see because it was a part I came across in. First of all, I will say signature witnessing confuses me. That confuses me because I had learned that it meant something different than what it is stating in this book. So I will say that going over that was not my most favorite part at all because it's confusing. Like I understand what it says in the book, but then I'm trying to think why was it told to me in a different way? And I think it may have came from the workbook that I saw that, but yeah, I don't know. Do you guys do signature witnessing where you are? Well,
I
Sabrina's
haven't,
here with me, so we can't do it. But do you do signature witnessing in your state?
that I don't know for sure, and I'll have to look and see. Think
Okay,
about that.
okay,
I don't recall running across it, but I will research that and see.
okay. Let's see. All right. So I don't like this question. I kind of try to reword it. It says, what do you think of the writing? I think the second question is more relevant, so I'll probably delete that part. Are there any standout sentences? I'm gonna edit that right now. Let's see. Let me change this to the chapters read. And probably gonna delete this part too. The what is your least favorite? I mean, yeah, least favorite. I don't think we need that question. Okay, standout
You're going to take
sentences
out
for
what is
me.
your least favorite?
Yeah, I deleted that one too.
Okay.
Uh,
I have it printed out, so I'm crossing off as your.
oh, okay. Let me see. Your opinion. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna revise those. I may like look up some other questions and like kind of replace them. So I'll make sure I share it though if I make any
Okay.
changes.
Yeah, because the last
Now,
one does just remind you of any other book. It's like, well,
okay, I'm about to delete that one too. Let's delete that. Okay. Now I did have a standout census. Let me see. Where is it? Okay, this one. So there are some states that do not require their notaries to use a seal. Like they don't have to have a stamp, you know. But it says here, although not required, notaries should possess a notary seal because it kind of helps to validate the document and its authenticity,
mm-hmm.
you know. And I was like, that makes perfect sense. You know, sometimes when you read about the things that are required of your state and not required, it kind of baffles you, doesn't it? Like here in Florida, we don't have to have a journal. And there are some notaries who don't keep a journal. And I'm just like, that would scare me. It would scare me putting my name on all these documents and not having any record of it. And then it says that you cannot keep copies of what you notarize. You're
Right.
not allowed to keep copies. It's not legal. So what other copy would you have? You're not going to be able to remember day and time.
You go to
You
court,
know,
what do you,
I'm exactly. I'm not even good with names. So, you know, and sometimes not faces either. So that would be that's scary to me.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Well, and I think some of what it says too, the 8 things for putting in your journal
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like, oh, really? All that? You know,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
journals don't have, I mean, the mental competence. Your journals don't ask anything for that. At least mine
Nope,
doesn't.
they don't. They don't.
So I
They
never would
don't.
have
He
thought
was
to put
saying,
anything like that in there.
I know. And he was saying that it would be a good idea if they had check boxes like that to put that, you know. And then even though your journal has a note section, you're just not going to remember off the top of your head to do that unless you've been doing it all along.
Well, mine has little check boxes for what kind of ID is it, personal knowledge, driver's license, etc. And is it an acknowledgement, jurat, that type. But that's about
Hmm.
it. And when I
Hmm.
read this, I go, oh, seriously? So I'm learning more and more about things that you should probably put in your journal,
Yeah,
which is like, oh,
I
wow,
agree.
okay. It's a
Hmm.
lot to remember, but it's all good ideas.
Yes, I agree. Like what I had not been doing is notating in my journal whether or not I attached a loose certificate or not.
Mhm.
And that's a good idea to put in your notes if you had to attach a loose leaf notary certificate.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is a good idea. I've never,
Mm-hmm.
y- thought to put that in my journal. I usually just um, put on the document itself, see attached certificate, and then I make sure I write the title of the certificate at the bottom of the loose certificate, and then I attach it. But I never thought to put in my journal that I attached the loose certificate. So I'm going to do that moving forward
Yep.
for sure. Because
It's
two,
like,
it
okay, I
was
need a
saying,
list. I need a list of
I
all of it.
know, I know, right?
Okay,
A
hold on.
list of
Let me pull
everything
up
when I
my
should
list.
put.
Just a minute.
Yeah, and it was saying, if you do good record keeping, in your journal, and it says that a court would likely conclude the notary has substantially complied with the legal requirements and would approve the notarization based off
Hmm.
of your notes, your
Right.
notes and your records, you know. So that's something else to think about. What if a person did, like they said, if a person lost the document that was notarized, you could prove that you notarized the document,
Mhm.
and they may approve it based on your record. words.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty
That's why I
cool.
can't understand why they would people wouldn't know keep journals or anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I guess I just answered my question about what surprised you most about the chapters. That there, like you said, making maybe having to make a list of everything that you would possibly include in your note section when you're doing your journal entry. Things that
Yeah.
I would have never thought to do, which are really good ideas. Were there any passages that you had to like reread for full understanding? Like you're reading and then you're like, wait a minute, let me read that again.
And this one, it kind of, I had to keep rereading this. And I guess it's my not understanding it, but it's just a little thing that I had to keep rereading. And it is 7.9 on page 95. And I think this paragraph confused me, and I keep rereading it. So maybe you guys can shed some light on it. And this will go with the cancer. They're lingering questions because it does. If the pages are not already numbered, the notary should request the document signer to number and initial all the pages of the instrument to be notarized, including the page containing the notarial certificate. The notary should ask the last two pages to be notated to refer to one another, or what is called incorporation by reference. But then it says notaries have no authority to write upon transactional documents outside the areas which I can see, and they cannot require signers to number and initial the pages.
Mm-hmm.
But if you should request it, that, but we can't require them to do it. Is that correct?
Right.
We can ask
Yes.
them to do it, but we can't tell them they have
Right.
to do it. Okay.
Right. When you said that, I was already on the page because I had some stuff highlighted in the same because I was like, wait, what? I had to read it.
Keep rereading it.
So we're on the same page.
And I think
Sabrina,
as
what
I
did you think
reread
about
it,
that area?
as I reread it just now, it's just like, oh, light bulb went off. Because I can't tell you how many times I reread that. Just, I don't get that.
Mhm. Me too. Me too.
Okay,
And I
good.
did reread that part, but what made me read three times what was the witnessing.
The
Signature
That
signature
what got
witnessing,
witnessing,
me.
or
The
that confused me
witnessing,
a little bit. The
yeah.
signature is signature witnessing, it was confusing to me. It really was because I, like I said, the book that we read prior to this, I could have sworn it explained a different type of signature witnessing than what this book is saying. So now I'm just like totally confused. And I guess me being in the state where we can't do it anyway, I guess the most important thing would be for me to make sure I recognize it because you don't want to put the wrong notarization type, as I read in here, which I was like, oh, so you don't want to put the wrong notarization type. And then if it is a signature witnessing, you want to at least be able to replace it with the notarization type that you are allowed to do in your state. So I was looking at that like, okay, okay. And then they had an example of how it would be worded, so you would just look at those key words and I'll let you know, okay, that's a signature witnessing. I can't do that. So I would need for you to either contact the party who needs this notarized and ask them if they want to acknowledgement of jurat, or you would have to choose if you want to acknowledgement of jurat, and then I would explain the differences between the two. Because I can't, this is an act I can't perform in my state. So yes, Sabrina, I agree. I was just saying that like signature witnessing really was a little confusing for me. But Donna, back to this. So I was thinking that too, like, okay, so I can ask them to number the pages and initial it, but they don't have to. But if they refuse to, I can refuse to notarize a document. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. And so what I compared it to was when we asked them for a fingerprint. They can refuse to give us a fingerprint too. not unless you're in a state that requires it. Here in Florida, it's not required for them to leave a thumbprint in our journal,
Mhm.
but it is preferred, you know. And if they ask why, I always tell them this is to secure the document and show its authenticity of the process that we, transaction that we did right here. Basically, it's saying that you actually were present, and they can't really prove you were present just from me having your information in here and your signature. They would need to be able to prove it another way. And this thumbprint is definitely going to prove to them you were actually present and I
Oh,
did notarize for you. So I have to explain that to them. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. When I explain it like that. So yeah.
okay.
So I was like, okay, more information, so I could ask them to, number and initial. What's the harm in that? So I was like, okay. Something else to think of. Another thing to put on the list.
Exactly.
Yes. Lingering questions from the book you are still thinking about. That darn signature
Yeah,
witnessing. I think we all are like, that's the one right there.
that's it
Chapter
right
6,
there.
all of chapter 6. All of chapter 6. So when I saw the example of the certificate, it made me think back to I have come across some documents that said that, and I put that it was a jurat. So it actually was signature witnessing. So now I need to make sure that I pay attention. If it doesn't say sworn to or subscribed or affirmed, it says signed or attested before me. I need to know that that is a signature witnessing. That's not a jurat.
Mhm.
So it's
And I
basically
think
just
that's the whole
saying,
point of some of
yeah,
these is really take your time and read that
yes,
certificate.
yep. It
And
says
I
you
find
make sure
myself sometimes
proofread.
I don't focus too hard. I read it, but I don't really focus on it.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you got to take your time to really focus on it.
Yep. You're right. And with some people, like I remember I posted in a group some time ago, I said, what is one of the most important things about performing your duty as a notary? And people said, a bunch of different answers. And so I said, well, you guys aren't wrong. But the answer that I was looking for was reading. You should read before you notarize. And so you got a person, well, we're not supposed to care about the contents of the document and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're supposed to read before you notarize. I'm not saying that you have to read the documents that you're going to be notarizing, but the part that you're responsible for, you should proofread it so that you know what type of transaction you're performing as far as a notarization type. You
Mhm.
got to proofread it, because if you're just looking and you're like, okay, just signing and stamping, how are you making sure that you are doing what the document says you need to do? Or I mean, what the certificate says you need to do? You know, so you got to read. That's the most important part is to read. Take your
And they're
time
not
and read
asking
what
you
you're
to read
doing.
the whole document. You scan
No,
the
they're just
document to make sure there's no blanks, but that certificate
thank
you've
you.
got to
Thank
focus
you.
on.
Thank you. Exactly, Donna. Absolutely 100%. Absolutely. So yeah. So for future, I'll know now that the document is a signature witnessing notarization and I can't perform that. So,
And I'll have to research to see if we can. I just never run across it. I don't recall
mhm.
hearing. So I'll have to research and
Okay.
find out if we can.
Okay. All right, let's see. What point in each chapter do you think you would like to learn more about? Mm,
Well, you learn more about the signature witnessing for sure.
for me, just making sure I pay attention to those certificate wording for a signature witnessing. But
Hmm.
what I would say I want to make sure I focus more on is what different things to include in my journal other than the obvious things.
Yeah.
That's what I will say. You just gotta
Yeah.
be in. What do you want?
Between question 9 and 10 is pretty much the same thing. It's focusing on the journaling and what to put in there and making sure I
Right.
have everything down in
Mm-hmm.
there and
Mm-hmm.
taking better notes.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm gonna delete that one too because it is kind of the same thing. Ouch. Okay, you gotta get down. Ouch. Come on, princess. Ow, no. Oh,
They got to be in the middle.
yeah, but her nails. Oof. Okay. 'Cause she feel me trying to move her, so she's trying to put her nails in my pants. Like, no, no, you got to get down, girlfriend.
I'm staying. I'm staying. The other thing I
Yeah.
found interesting is on page 91 where they talk about blue ink in the practice tip using black or blue ink. I've always used black
Um,
when I do it.
well, that's where reading documents that you're doing comes into play. So some documents will specifically say only use blue ink.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I haven't
So
run
if
into
you
that
haven't
yet.
come across, yeah, if you haven't come across that, yeah, yeah. I've had documents where it'll specifically say only use blue ink. So we'll use blue ink. Or if the person already read the document, they'll tell me before I can only use blue ink. And I'll say, oh, okay. I always come prepared with the pen. I have black and blue. So
I have both. I carry both with me, but just the way he
mhm,
stated for photocopying and stuff like that,
mhm.
you can tell if it's been photocopied or not if you use blue ink.
Right, right. Absolutely. And then for some of them, if they're looking, like if you're skimming through the documents, easier to see blue on
Mm.
black writing, like to see where everything is filled out too. So,
Right,
so
right.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. Was there anything else that you guys noticed in the chapters that you wanted to talk about? Oh, I did have one. So, where it says, after a notarial ceremony is completed, the only way to write an error or omission in a notarization is to inform the document signer of the mistake and possibly to schedule an appointment to perform a new notarization. So I've never had to correct it before, but it is good to know you're not going to be editing your original entry. You're going to make a
Hmm.
new entry and you're going to reference the old entry in your notes. So you would say amendment to entry 24 if it's entry 48 you're on now. Amendment to entry 24 done on so and so date or something like that. So I was like, okay, that is good to know. So if I ever come across that, I'll know how to handle that because I automatically would think I would just add notes to the old entry where it's saying you don't touch the old entry at all. You make a brand new entry and you just reference the old. So I'm like, duly noted.
Yep.
Glad I came across that. I probably wouldn't, yeah. I didn't know how to handle that because like I said, I've never had to correct one. I never had anybody come and say that I needed to correct a notarization um for general or the loan signing part. And then they just have these examples. I love when they include the examples of the certificates for you to
Mhm.
see. Let's see. Let me see if there's anything else. So basically just saying it's, you don't alter notarial certificates. You just complete a new certificate and it's a new notarization. We can't backdate. Uh, proofreading. So if we have them number in initial pages, we want to put that in our notes. Had to
Yeah.
attach a loose certificate, had the signer number the preceding pages and initial, I guess. Mm.
guess that's good if
Another
there's a lot
one.
of pages.
Right. It was another one. It was saying, now, this is what I also thought too, but I had a notary correct me on this. They're like, they never staple their loose certificate to the documents. And I'm like, well, why not? Because they can take that document off and use it with something else. And they're like, well, not if you fill out the optional part. But see, the way I was trained was to always attach the document using a staple, not a paper clip. But then
That's what I
again,
was told.
yeah, that's what I was told. But then again, there are some documents where they don't want you to apply a staple. So in my mind, unless it specifically tells me not to, I am.
Mhm. Yeah, it's getting done. Yes.
Yep, I'm applying a staple. Unless you tell me other, I can't. Uh, then we already know about the dates, you know, and I think most journals have that. They have the document date and then the date of notarization
Yes.
for the purposes of, acknowledgments. Mm, I think that was it, guys.
Yeah, I think we covered everything that I had questions or highlights on.
Mhm. Oh, and I like how it was stating almost every state. Well, no, it says every state. They look at the notarial certificate as being, the standard for these documents to show that it is authentic and that was validated by a notary.
Mhm.
Without that, it's not valid. It's not a valid transaction. So I was like, okay. Which I already knew that, but I guess some things when you read it, you're kind of like, I'm glad I knew that. Glad I already knew that. Okay. And then I just highlighted, affidavit is basically a jurat, which I already knew, but I know the other girl, she hasn't done any notarizations yet, so I highlighted that with her in mind.
I
So
haven't done, I
yeah,
think
that was
I've done one of those.
the affidavit.
The yeah, the jurat.
Oh, jurat, yeah. Yeah.
Jurat, yeah. I think I've only done one.
Yeah. I think with general notary, you will most likely come across acknowledgments, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it then. We are
Yeah.
done. 5, 6, and 7. So next we're gonna be doing 8, 9, and 10. Oh, and so guys, I'm gonna have to change the day that we meet for the book club, and I wanted to see if this is gonna work for you guys. So I'm gonna have to do it on Wednesdays at 7:30 because remember it's I don't know if, yeah, I did. I put it in the post. My son was gonna be going to a tryout. Um and we ended up enrolling him. So he's going to be doing that Tuesdays from 6:30 to 7:30. So I don't want to be rushing home to do a book club after that. So I'm going to
Yeah.
change the book club dates to Wednesdays at 7:30. I think that'll work better. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
you'll post the
Well,
questions after you
Congratulations to
revise
your
them?
son.
hold on, say it again. I'm going to do new questions. I'm going to
Okay.
do some new ones. I have a week, so I'm going to do some new questions and I will share the questions with you. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because yeah, because the more I'm looking at them, I'm like, yeah, these are
You
not
gonna email
really good
them to
questions.
us or
I can if you like. Yep, I can.
it's not too much
And then
trouble?
because I think Donna, she said she enjoyed being able to look at the questions while she was reading, because it
Mm-hmm.
helped her to answer, and jot down some notes. So absolutely. Okay,
You.
so
And congratulations to
um
your son. That's what I was saying. Practice.
yes, thank you. He's super excited. Super excited. All right. So
So
8.
will you post them in the group, or do you want our emails? Do you have our, or how do you want to do that?
I can message you directly. There's not that many of us.
Okay,
So there's not that
sounds
many
good to
of us. I
me.
could just message you. Do you have Facebook Messenger? I know Sabrina does. Donna, do you
Yeah,
have it?
yes.
Okay. Okay. I even started to do, just because it was such a small group, I started to maybe make a chat just for us, because it's not that many of us. So if you guys are okay with that, I can do that too. All right. So, ooh, 10 is long too, guys.
Yeah,
All
10's
right.
a long
So,
one.
yeah, it looks like 8, 9, and 10.
Okay,
Okay.
we just pick
So,
out
8,
a
so 8,
picture.
9, 10. That
Okay,
should be a good discussion. And
yeah.
so I'll see you guys next Wednesday, 7:30.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you all later.
All right. Good night.
Night.